If one of these two tokens disappears tomorrow, would global finance even notice? That's not a trick question, because while everyone's focused on the daily price of Bitcoin, there's a silent war unfolding beneath the surface. A war between Quant and Stellar Lumens. One is building the infrastructure banks are begging for. The other already has partnerships with governments, central banks, and payment giants around the globe. But here's the kicker. They're not doing the same thing at all. And yet, they're both racing to the same destination. Controlling the future of digital money. This isn't about hype. This is about the technology quietly shaping the pipes of tomorrow's financial system. And the shocking differences between them might just change how you invest from this moment on. Let's start by looking at Quant, or QNT, a project many crypto newcomers overlook because it doesn't play the hype game. No fancy memes, no moon tweets. What it offers instead is something more rare: interoperability at an enterprise level. At its core, Quant isn't trying to replace traditional banking systems. It's trying to connect them through its overledger network. Quant allows various blockchains, financial institutions, and legacy systems to interact seamlessly. Think of it like the internet, but for blockchains. Instead of building a new chain that competes, Quant acts more like a translator, enabling public and private networks to work together without changing their underlying code. That's why central banks and massive institutions are starting to notice they don't want to build their own systems from scratch. They want to upgrade. Quant makes that upgrade possible. It doesn't store data on-chain, which is exactly what governments and regulated entities love. And it offers plug-and-play modularity that saves years of development time and millions in cost. So, if you're a large-scale financial player looking to tokenize real-world assets, create CBDCs, or interconnect blockchains, Quant gives you the tools to do it without reinventing the wheel. Now contrast that with Stellar and its native token, XLM. While Quant plays in the back-end world of invisible infrastructure, Stellar is all about accessibility, speed, and cost efficiency, especially for cross-border payments. It was originally created as a fork of Ripple, but with a different mission. Instead of targeting banks directly, Stellar focuses on the underserved individuals in developing economies. Small remittance providers, microfinance institutions, but that doesn't mean it's small, not at all. Stellar's network is designed for high-speed, low-cost transfers. Its average transaction cost is a fraction of a cent, and settlement time is just a few seconds. That's huge for people who are sending money home from abroad, or trying to avoid the fees of traditional remittance channels like Western Union. But here's the real twist. Stellar has managed to blend its humanitarian vision with real institutional power. Its partnerships include IBM, MoneyGram, the Ukrainian government, and even discussions with the IMF. The Stellar Development Foundation has a seat at some of the world's most important regulatory and blockchain policy discussions. And they're not just talking, they're building. So how do you compare to tokens that seem to be doing completely different things? You go deeper. You look at the vision, the tech, and the traction. Because even though QNT and XLM appear to be playing different games, both are targeting the same outcome, becoming essential to the global movement of value. The key difference is how they're approaching that goal. Quant is going top-down. From institutions to the masses, Stellar is going bottom-up, from users to governments. And that strategic difference changes everything. Let's talk about real-world adoption, because this is where hype collapses and utility begins to matter. Quant has been quietly embedding itself into the heart of institutional finance. It's part of the Digital Pound Foundation, rubbing shoulders with Ripple, Accenture, and CGI. Its overledger operating system is already being used in tokenization pilots for real-world assets like bonds, carbon credits, and CBDC. But here's where it gets even more serious. Quant STech is ISO 20022. Compliant, the new global messaging standard for financial institutions, and it's designed to be future-proof. Most people ignore this detail, but it's not just technical jargon. ISO 20022 is the standard the world's financial system is moving toward. Banks, SWIFT, and payment providers are shifting to this protocol, and Quant is already fluent in it. That's like speaking the language of global money, while everyone else is still learning the alphabet. The Quant team, led by Gilbert Verdian, doesn't chase retail investors. In fact, QNT's tokenomics are uniquely suited for enterprise usage. Unlike other projects that inflate supply or rely on staking hype, QNT has a fixed supply of just over 14 million tokens, fewer than Bitcoin, with most already in circulation. That scarcity, paired with growing institutional use cases, creates a very different kind of value proposition. This isn't a token designed for hype cycles, it's a token designed for utility. Developers building apps on Overledger must pay license fees in QNT, and as more institutions begin to adopt interoperable solutions, the demand for access will increase, regardless of the daily noise in the crypto market. Now, let's swing back to Stellar. While Quant is building the highways for banks, Stellar is building the streets for people. One of its strongest plays came with a partnership with MoneyGram, enabling near-instant stablecoin payouts globally through USDC. That's a massive step forward in mainstream adoption. Imagine a migrant worker in Europe sending money back to their family in Nigeria, and that money arrives as USDC in seconds, then instantly converted into local currency through a MoneyGram agent. No bank delays, no outrageous fees. That's the real impact of blockchain. Stellar's consensus mechanism also plays a major role. It doesn't use proof of work or proof of stake. It uses something called the Stellar Consensus Protocol, SCP, which allows for near-instant validation without high energy usage. It's fast, light, and scalable, and it's been running smoothly for years. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. Stellar has faced criticism over the years regarding centralization. The majority of nodes are still operated by a small number of entities. While the Stellar Development Foundation is aware of this and actively decentralizing control, it's still a factor that savvy investors keep in mind. And there's something else to consider. Unlike QNT's fixed supply, XLM has a total supply of 50 billion tokens, with a portion burned in 2019 and the rest gradually distributed through community initiatives and partnerships. This inflationary model has pros and cons. On one hand, it allows Stellar to fund development and incentivize ecosystem growth. On the other, it introduces long-term dilution risks if not managed carefully. Still, Stellar remains one of the most consistently used platforms for token issuance and remittances, especially in emerging markets. So what happens when we take a step back? We begin to see two radically different visions, each with its own strengths. Quant is focused on programmable, regulated, multi-chain interoperability, the stuff institutions need but rarely talk about. Stellar is focused on human-centric, fast, and affordable financial access, the kind of real-world problem-solving that actually changes lives. One is enterprise. The other is humanitarian. But both are strategic, both are smart, and both are slowly becoming essential. And here's the part most people miss. These aren't competitors in the traditional sense. They may both be in the digital finance race, but they're running on parallel tracks. There will be overlap, there will be tension. But there's also room for synergy, and that S where the smartest investors pay attention. But let's now go beyond the charts, the metrics, and the blockchains. Let's talk about vision, because in crypto, vision is often the true differentiator. Quant is not just building interoperability, it's building programmable trust. In a world where central banks are racing to digitize currencies, where governments are seeking to regulate blockchain without killing innovation, and where traditional finance is cautiously dipping its toes into decentralized waters, Quant is positioning itself as the invisible layer that connects all of it. Picture a future where your digital euro, issued by the European Central Bank, can instantly interact with tokenized real estate, your stock portfolio, and even your digital driver's license across multiple blockchains with absolute security. That's the Overledger vision. It's not glamorous, and it's definitely not viral, but it is necessary. And sometimes, the most valuable technologies are the ones that work quietly in the background while the rest of the world catches up. Now contrast that with Stellar's ethos. Stellar is not trying to build for bankers in corner offices. It's building for the person with no bank account, the entrepreneur in Kenya selling products through WhatsApp, the mother in Venezuela escaping hyperinflation with stablecoins. It's not just infrastructure, it's empowerment. And that's a different kind of power, one that doesn't rely on speculation, but on daily use. The Stellar Development Foundation has emphasized its commitment to financial inclusion time and again. And while its pace may seem slower compared to flashier Layer 1 South, its approach has been remarkably consistent and deeply mission-driven. Still, You might be asking the most important question of all. Which one is the better investment? And here's the honest answer. It depends on your thesis. If you believe that the future of blockchain lies in institutional integration, regulated tokenization, cross-chain operability, and sovereign-level adoption, then Quant represents one of the most asymmetric bets in the market. It's scarce, enterprise-focused, and solving a problem that not many even understand yet. Interoperability that's compliant, scalable, and invisible to the end user. But it's not a fast mover. It's a long-term infrastructure play, the kind of bet that institutions love and retail often ignores. Until it's too late, if you believe that the future of blockchain is about empowering the unbanked, driving real adoption in developing economies, and creating user-friendly, scalable solutions for everyday financial transactions, then Stellar stands tall. It's been battle-tested, it's cheap to use, it has a clear mission, and it's already proving itself through partnerships like MoneyGram and Circle. Stellar may not give you moonshot returns overnight, but it could become one of the most foundational platforms for remittances and microfinance in the next decade. But here's what makes this debate so fascinating. You, Dan T., have to choose one over the other. The smartest investors don't look for the single golden project. They build balanced portfolios that reflect different kinds of future value. QNT and XLM are not just tokens. They're expressions of two distinct worldviews. One institutional, one individual. One builds the rails, the other brings the passengers. And when the train arrives, both are needed. So whether you're a long-term holder, a curious researcher, or someone just trying to understand which blockchain will still matter 5 years from now, this is your moment to pay attention. Because by the time the rest of the world wakes up to these technologies, the early positioning, the strategic accumulation, the deep understanding will already belong to those who did the homework early. Let me leave you with one final thought. Technology is never neutral. It reflects values, decisions, and consequences. The blockchain projects we support today will shape how value, identity, and power flow tomorrow. So ask yourself, which kind of world do you want to build? And if this video opened your eyes, even just a little, do something about it. Like the video, drop a comment with the word alignment if you made it this far. And make sure you're subscribed, because here, we don't chase hype, we decode the future. One block at a time, and maybe, just maybe, this isn't just about crypto. Maybe it's about how we choose to build the future. Some will invest in power, some in purpose, some in the rails, others in the riders. But the truth is, we need both. Because technology alone doesn't unlock wealth. Understanding does. Alignment does. Vision does. And the earlier you see it, the greater your leverage in the world that's coming. So if this made you think differently, if it helped you see beyond the noise and into the signal, subscribe to Wealth Unlocked. This is where we cut through the hype and reveal the stories behind the protocols, the strategies behind the gains, and the values shaping tomorrow's economy. And if you made it this far, I know you're part of the 1% who actually wants to understand. So prove it. Drop the word alignment in the comments. Let the world know you're not just watching your positioning. We're just getting started. Welcome to Wealth Unlocked.